morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. Welcome back to the Early Edge presented by BetMGM. I am your host today. I have a special guest today. We have some college football. We have some baseball, a little bit of NFL. We're going to cover it all. But first, let's take a look back from last night. Chip with NC State. That was a tough blow late in the fourth quarter. But not our best day, but that is our job on Saturday to turn things around. And I do believe we can do that. So let me bring in the stars of the show. We have Amags with us, and we have Jake Fetner, one of my guys, the SportsLine model team, a little SportsLine model takeover. So we'll bring some of those elements in today a little bit. But before we get into that, Amags, again, you have the MLB, you have the NFL, very diverse. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, thanks, Kens. And it's an exciting day, but also a bit of a, I guess maybe like tenuous day in the MLB. We have a ton of these games that are either going to be postponed or have storms throughout the game, sustained winds and whatnot. We're already looking at it for college football and NFL tomorrow. So there's a lot of implications that come with the baseball, especially when you're betting on pitchers, which we do a lot of times. So I'm going to take it indoors here for my first MLB play. I'm going to go Jesus Luzardo over 5.5 strikeouts. I got it at minus 140 earlier, now minus 145. Should be around there, but even at minus 150, I think the juice is worth a squeeze here. Look, he had 5 strikeouts at Milwaukee a couple of starts ago. When you look at this Milwaukee team and kind of the implications of today, they clinched a playoff berth yesterday. If they win today, they're going to win the division. But if the Cubs lose earlier in the day, they may have already won the division. So I'm not exactly sure how it's going to shake out with the lineup. Yelich just came back off injury, and yes, he did perform well yesterday, but against lefties, he's been worse. Luzardo's been better against lefties, so if he's in the lineup, which I kind of hope he is, that should help us with the K prop. So I like Luzardo to go over 5.5 strikeouts today. And then I'm going to give you another NFL play. Look, we barely cashed last week with the Giants on a huge comeback win, and I'm going to take it right back with I'm going to go first off the Jaguars at minus 2.5. It's going to be a 6-point teaser. Jaguars minus 2.5, Chiefs minus 6.5, Cowboys minus 6.5. Just taking each of these below the key numbers of 3 and 7. I think that with the Texans' injuries mounting, that's a really tough game for them to win. And then the Chiefs coming back home after only scoring 17 points against Jacksonville. I like that. I love Chris Jones to record a sack if you can find that play. And then lastly, with the Cowboys, I just think they're going to outclass Arizona. So 6-point teaser. I bet it on BetMGM at plus 160 this morning. It should still be there for you. Jags minus 2, Chiefs minus 6.5, Cowboys minus 6.5. Good luck.
Yeah, I like that a lot. We've talked about those teams a ton. We love the Chiefs to cover with the boys back in town. We like the Jags. Gave out a couple Jags props on our show the other day. So big time like that a lot. So before, I'll have some NFL props later, but let's move into our college football slate, arguably one of the best weekends of college football of this season. Now, for those who haven't been here for too long, Jake Fetner, part of our SportsLine model team. I don't think anyone knows college football as well as this kid, running back from Duke. He probably knows just as well as Ohio State wide receivers. So, Jake, let's get into the slate. We'll go over these top 5 games. And we're going to start with this noon game, Florida State minus 2.5 at Clemson, over under 55.5. Our model doesn't necessarily have value. It's 27 points for Clemson, 27 for Florida State, 26 for Clemson. So we have a slight lean to the under. But what do you think about this game?
Yeah, I definitely lean Florida State. We have Florida State winning 52% of the time. And we were talking about on the SportsLine model show that if you like Jordan Travis to win the Heisman, you get him at plus 1,500 right now, because those odds are probably going to move to plus 1,000 if they win, because they're probably going to win out if they win this game.
Right.
I think I like Jordan Travis to win this game because I trust him more than Cade Klubnik. I trust that Florida State offense more than Clemson's offense, which is weird to say because that Clemson offense had been good for the last 10 years.
Right.
But I'm definitely leaning Florida State here, which pains me to say as a Gator fan.
Right, yeah. It's interesting to see the Heisman candidate on the other side of the Clemson opponent there, but that's another tough game. We like Florida State a lot. Again, that's your time. This is your time to get your Heisman bets in if you believe in Florida State's quarterback. Let's move to number 15, Ole Miss, at number 13, Alabama. Alabama laying 7, another over under 55.5, and another game we're pretty in line with the odds makers. all of the questions in this game come on the offensive side of the ball for both teams. How do you see this playing out?
Yeah, I definitely lean the under at 55.5 because of all those offensive questions. I think Jalen Milroe is going to be a little shell shocked today. I have him over half the interception at plus money on DraftKings. You get him at plus 110 to throw a pick.
Right.
I like that play, especially after he threw 2 against Texas and he didn't even play at all last week.
Right.
So I think that both teams are going to try to keep the ball on the ground early and see if they can establish some sort of running game. And with the new clock rules, I think this game plays well into the under.
Yeah, I like that. I also like the first half under 27.5 before things could get chaotic in that second half and somebody's trying to win the game in the air. So if there's a play there, that's probably what I'm going with. Before we move on to our third game, let's hear from our partners at BetMGM with the promo. New BetMGM customers can sign up today and get $200 in bonus bets. Just place your first wager at least $10 and you will receive $200 instantly in bonus bets, regardless of your wager's outcome, with the bonus code EDGE200. Now, let's get back to our boy Deion Sanders. Everyone wants to talk about it. Number 19, Colorado at number 10, Oregon. Oregon laying 21. We are on Oregon here, Jake. I know you can explain it. The model has them winning by 25. Oregon 3-0 ATS with Bo Nix. What makes this Oregon team so talented this year?
I mean, they have a ton of weapons. I love Bucky Irving at running back. I don't think he gets looked at enough. And they have Noah Whittington as well at running back, a Western Kentucky transfer. So they have really good running backs as well as good receivers. I like this matchup for Tez Johnson, the Troy transfer for Oregon. Then now that Colorado doesn't have Travis Hunter, that loss is worth, I think, 14 points alone just from the defensive impact, not even including him on offense. Right. And Colorado, they were without their center last week, and their offensive line is rough. I think Shedeur takes a couple big hits, and I love Shedeur Sanders. He's been balling this year, but Oregon is just on another level with their depth. Their depth is a big factor here. So I lean Oregon. I don't mind some sort of overplay here, or both teams go over a certain amount of points, because I think this could be a fun matchup. But I trust Oregon at home in Autzen Stadium. They always play well in Autzen Stadium.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that overplay. If there's one thing about Colorado, up or down, they will be giving 100% through that fourth quarter. But we're going to see, Shedeur Sanders go through a little bit of a gauntlet of a schedule coming up. So those injuries are going to be a little scary for them. And again, you're losing, 2 players in Travis Hunter. So we'll see how that goes. Oregon, definitely a strong candidate. Before we move to Ohio State, let's hear a word from one of our sponsors.
Well, you need your sports news anywhere?
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
All right, let's move to number 6, Ohio State at number 9, Notre Dame. College game days there. Again, another over under 55.5. The model leans Ohio State, projected score of 32-25. Do you agree with that there?
I actually don't. I think Notre Dame keeps this game close. I wouldn't be surprised if Ohio State wins by just 3. I'd like Sam Hartman over Kyle McCord just because of an experience factor. Right. So I'm leaning Notre Dame here. I think Ohio State's a little more talented both ways, but Notre Dame, they have the experience factor at quarterback. And in a big game like this, I trust an experienced quarterback a little more.
Right. And speaking of, we talked a little bit about Heisman earlier this week, but people love Sam Hartman. Do you think this offense is strong enough to take him there, even if they beat Ohio State today?
I love Sam Hartman. He's won us a couple bets the last couple of years at Wake. So Sam Hartman's been good to us. I just don't think that this Notre Dame offense is built for a Heisman winner. I think he's at plus 1,100, which is the 3rd best odds. And he's at a big time school. People like rooting for Notre Dame. People either love Notre Dame or hate Notre Dame. But their latest Heisman contender was Manti Te'o, and he was a defender. So I don't think this offense is built for a Heisman winner, especially since they rely on Audric Estime so much. And I love their ground game. So I don't think this offense is built for a Heisman winner, unlike Washington or USC, which are built for Heisman winners.
Right. We'll go to another team dealing with a new quarterback, number 24, Iowa, at number 7, Penn State. Penn State laying 14.5. This over-under is now at 38.5. It is moving down with the weather that we will be seeing up in the Northeast. you know how I feel about Iowa. I can get into that later. Model has Penn State winning 27-13. How do you feel about this game?
Yeah, Penn State's defense was dominant last week against Illinois. And I think that they're going to give Iowa a lot of trouble. Problem is on offense, Penn State's offense didn't look that great with Drew Aller last week. They scored 30 points, but they should have scored 50 plus with all the short fields that they were getting. I would definitely lean under even at 38.5 or maybe play it all under.
Right.
I think Penn State should win, but with this weather, I wouldn't be surprised if Iowa covers in a nasty, sloppy game.
Yeah. I think it'll be a game on the ground. Kate McNamara not showing us anything crazy. Obviously, last week they finally put up enough points to cover a big spread of 28.5. And people are all excited that, their offensive coordinator, now he's averaging over 25 points per game. So they're all high on life. So I don't know, maybe that gives them a new life. But I think they played, the second worst passing defense in the entire league. So I was hoping, they should have put up that many points. So we'll see.
They had so many short fields. Western Michigan was giving them short fields the whole entire game. And they went for it on 4th and 3 instead of picking a field goal with 30 seconds left. So that could have saved Brian Ferentz's job, even though I'm not sure if they're going to score 25 points per game this season.
Yeah, not a shot. I think they need to put up 70 to cover themselves the rest of the season. That was their one chance, but I could lean a team total under for Iowa. It seems to just be a profitable thing in general. Unders with Iowa involved, I think you're usually coming out on top. So those are the top 5 games. We'll get into our best bets after we hear another word from our sponsors.
It's time. The best Transformers yet.
There you go.
Is now streaming on Paramount Plus.
This is going to be fun, man. Now let's talk to your manifestation.
Transformers: Rise of the Beast. Rated PG-13. Now streaming on Paramount Plus.
All right, so we talked about the top 5 matchups of the day, but something about the model that we like is we focus on those smaller, less Hollywood games just as much. Jake has a few best bets for the college football slate today. Let's move into some of your team totals and your overs. I know we talked about earlier this week, Liberty FIU over 52.
Yeah, FIU made a change at quarterback after they had -4 passing yards in their first game of the season. They have a true freshman, Keon Jenkins from Miami. And he's put up 30. They're averaging 35 points the last 2 games. And FIU scores more at home than they do on the road. Liberty's offense is pretty fun. They have Kaden Salter. They have Coastal Carolina's coach from last year. So they have a pretty fun passing attack. So they didn't lose that much when Hugh Freeze left in terms of an offensive standpoint. So I like the over here big time. We have 62 in our model. My other model has 60 points, which focuses more on stability and recent games. But I like the over here.
Yeah. And another team that you like in the stability model, BYU's team total over 21.5.
Yeah, Kansas has been good the last couple of years. I love Lance Leipold, but their defense still has struggled a bit. They gave up 24 points to Nevada, who can't really do much on offense the last couple of years. And BYU put up 38 on the road last week against Arkansas and won that game. I played BYU's quarterback Keaton Slovis over 196.5 yards. I think BYU has some good weapons on offense, and 21.5. I thought that was pretty low for a team total against a not that great Kansas defense.
Right.
Kansas offense is really fun to watch, but their defense still has some holes.
Right. And let's move into your other 2 picks. We can start with Sam Hartman's alma mater. I guess not alma mater, but his old stomping grounds at Wake Forest.
He probably graduated. I hope so, because he was there for 4 years.
I'm too confused now with the transfer portal. I don't ask questions anymore.
Yeah, I like Wake on the money line against Georgia Tech. I mean, as long as that stays under -200, I got a -188. It's been going from -180 to -200. If you get it somewhere in between there, I like it. I mean, Georgia Tech looks much improved with Haynes King at quarterback. Wake almost lost to Old Dominion, but that was on the road. And their quarterback, Mitch Griffiths, looked a lot better in the second half. He led them to a comeback win. Mm-hmm. I think Wake is at home, and they have the advantage just on the talent level over Georgia Tech. And right. I mean, I think that Georgia Tech is much better, but I don't think they're at the level of Wake quite yet. So I'm just playing money line here.
Right. And we'll take one spread over at TCU with the Horned Frogs. You're laying the 7.
Yeah, so both the stability model and the SportsLine model like TCU big time here. I think TCU overlooked Colorado the first week. They didn't realize how good Colorado was going to be, and Travis Hunter and Dylan Edwards had
Just fair.
3 long catches. Yeah, they just overlooked them.
Right.
And Chandler Morris struggled to start the season, but I think he's starting to get a groove. We saw SMU a couple weeks ago play Oklahoma, and their offense didn't look that great. They put up 11 points against Oklahoma. And I think Oklahoma's defense is much better with Brent Venables, but 11 points against Oklahoma still has some holes on their defense. Isn't that great? I think TCU is going to watch that game and scheme up some things against Preston Stone that he struggled with against Oklahoma. And I think TCU wins by double digits here.
Right. Yeah. And for those who don't know that stability model, and when those picks are agreeing with our SportsLine model, our record 8-3-1, 6-2 last week. So that stability model is a strong trend that we like to see. I'm going to take us over to tomorrow in Sunday's NFL slate in case people need a little recovery after Saturday. So we're going to hit a player prop over there with the Commanders. Brian Robinson over 54.5 rushing yards. We have him projected at 64. He's hit over this number in 9 of his last 10 games. The Bills are giving up 105 yards on the ground last season, 113 through 2 weeks this season. We have Robinson probable for at least 57.4% of Washington's rush yards. Antonio Gibson is kind of not really being used on the ground the way you thought he would. He's had 5 carries on the season so far, so this really seems to be Robinson's backfield. Again, our model has him projected for 64 yards, so I think we see a big game from him here. So with
Gibson has stumblitis, so that's why they're not giving him the ball that much.
Right.
So they're just using him in the receiving game, and I love Robinson. I love that play.
Yeah, and we have all the weather going on, so who knows? This could be another big ground game. So with that said, we gave you a little bit of everything. Let's take a look at the recap of our entire weekend. I am on Brian Robinson, over 54.5 rushing yards. Amags is on Jesus Luzardo, over 5.5 strikeouts. A 6-point teaser with the Jags -2.5, Chiefs -6.5, Cowboys -6.5, and Jake Fetner's on TCU to cover -7, Liberty FIU over 52 points, Wake Forest money line at -188, and BYU team total over 21.5 at -115. So with that, let's take these tickets to the pay window. Big college Saturday, big NFL Sunday. Good luck this weekend, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.